If you're new to my YouTube channel, please click that subscribe button and remember to click the bell icon to get notifications of all my uploads throughout the week. Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So today I need to create a couple of thank you cards. I've had an idea in my mind kind of what I want to do for the thank you card, but it's something that I've never tried to do before, and it's got stamping involved. I'm going to be using embossing powder, but I'm also going to be using some masking fluid. Now it's something that I've never tried to combine before, so I'm going to have a go today at trying out this technique and just play. If it works and it's a success, then I'm going to be really happy. If it's a complete and dismal failure, then I'm going to still show you it anyway, because you're my friends and I don't mind you sharing in my successes as well as my failures. So I'm not too proud to show you where I've made a horrible mistake, because I know you've all been there too. So I'm going to just go ahead and try and do this project, and if it goes horribly wrong, then you know, it's a learning process, not just for me, but it's also for you guys too, so you'll know not to do it yourself. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place a piece of cardstock. This is some smooth white stamping card, and I've cut it to what we call here in the UK as an A6 size. This is an A6 card size, or card blank in black. In the States, I believe you call this an A2. It's almost the same size as ours, but anyway. I'm going to do two. I'm going to try and do two of these. So I'm just going to stick down this piece of stamping card just on here, and then I'm going to mount this stamp. So this is called the Jane Collage from Indigo Blue. It's one I've had for a while. But what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and position it so it's pretty much in the centre of that card. So pretty much about there. And because I'm using the stamp press because I want to do two of them. But I'm not going to stamp with normal ink. I'm going to use Versamark. So because I'm going to be doing some embossing. So this is the Versamark. Now mine's a bit grungy, it's a bit dirty, it's well loved. That's if it still works. So I'm just going to go ahead and give this a try. Now I will do it twice. I will be doing this twice because I want to make two cards. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick or put my Versamark onto my stamp. Now the only reason I've taken it off the stamp press is so I can show you the process, but also so I've got, you know, a nice kind of flat surface in which to do it on. So that should do us for that. And I can drop you straight back in and then turn it over and then give that a bit of a push down, and hopefully that's worked. I can see the Versamark on that piece of card. It's obviously a bit too subtle for the camera to pick it up. Might just be able to see it a little bit there if I tilt it. I'm not really sure whether you can see that or not. My lights are a bit too bright, but I can see that because I'm getting a little bit, there we go, I'm getting a little bit of shine, so you can see the pattern just there if I tilt it just like that. So I'll just move that to one side. Let me just turn that round for no other reason other than I don't want to close it. Now grab my card. I've got some midnight black embossing powder, and I'm just going to sprinkle and cover my stamped pattern with the embossing powder. I'm not doing anything magical here. This is a tried and tested technique that's been around for years and years and years. Just tap that off. Remove any excess. There we go. I suppose if you've never seen this technique done before, it will be magical for you. So I'm now just going to try and get all this embossing powder back into the pot. Or as much as I can. And then I'm going to bring in my heat gun. And then, come on, there we go. Make sure that's nice and hot before I start. And then we can get that to work. Come on. There we go, it's just starting to turn now. So it's melting the embossing powder. I think I've got everywhere. Just try and tilt that. I think that's everything. I think I've got everywhere. No, I did have a few areas that I'd missed. Go over it just to make sure. Sure that's everywhere. Right, I'll lift that up so you can see now that's gone very, very shiny and black. And obviously my craft mat has also now buckled a little bit because I've had that heat on it. Not heat resistant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece of card now, so that I'm going to end up with two. And then because you've seen me do this one, there's no point you watching me do the other one. So I'll do that and then I'll be right back once I've got both to the same stage. Okay, so I'm back with both of them. So as you can see, the embossing powder is nice and shiny on both. Feels really, really nice. So this is the bit that I'm not sure whether it's going to work. So inside this fine line bottle I've got some rubber masking fluid. So I'm just going to take the lid off. So what I want to do is just add some of this rubber masking fluid just to the inside of this design, and you can see there's actually quite a lot that's coming out the bottle. So I've got an old brush that I'm not particularly bothered about losing, and I'm just going to paint the masking fluid just around the areas that I want to mask off, if that makes sense. So just up there. And I'm going to do the same to this one. So I'm just going to add the masking fluid around those areas. So I'll add a little bit more of the masking fluid on, and then just use the brush to manipulate it around the pattern, around the design, just to go in. Now it's actually flowing over the embossing powder, which is fine. I'm hoping that it will create a nice little kind of barrier. Okay, so that's the masking fluid. Now obviously before I can do anything, I need to let that masking fluid dry. So I'm going to just sit that there for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, and then I'll come back once it's all dry. Okay, so it's been around about 20 minutes or so. This one, it's almost dried, but not quite. And this one still has a couple of areas, I think where it's pulled, where the paper's buckled slightly. The masking fluid has pulled a little bit, so that's taking a little bit longer to dry. So what I'm going to do is, it's pretty much about 3 o'clock now on Saturday afternoon, so which means it's time I took Mr. Bentley out on his afternoon WALK. So I'm going to leave these for another hour, take Mr. Bentley out, and by the time I get back from his WALK, these should be dry enough for me to continue. And I've still got plenty of time to then finish the project off, get it edited and uploaded for 6 o'clock tonight. So I will see you in a little while. Are we ready to go now then? Eh? Are we ready to go? Tell me. Are we ready to go? Do you want to go walk? Do you want to go for a walk? Look at that. Yes? Yes? Is that a yes? It is a yes, isn't it? So, I'm back from my walk with Mr. Bentley, and it looks as though a little bit tacky, but dry enough to work with, to do with what I want to do. So what I'm going to do is just pop them to one side for a second. I've brought out 3 of my distress inks. So I'm going to start off with Wild Honey. Got a little bit there. A little bit of Twisted Citron over here. And a tiny little bit of broken, let's say tiny little bit. There we go. And then grab some water, and we're just going to activate those inks. And then use that as a nice little mop-up watercolory kind of background. See if we can get a bit more of that blue in. Okay, dry off and do it again. Let's put the colours in a different place next time, or this time. Water. And then just activate. And then pick up the next one. And let's just see how that's going to work. Start picking up the colour. Just literally just dabbing around, picking up bits of colour, hopefully enough. That's kind of mostly green, a little bit of blue up in that corner, so let's just add a little bit more of that blue. Just over this side. It's reacting with the yellow, or the Wild Honey, and creating more green. Okay, so I think we'll call that a day for a second. So what I need to do then is just wipe up the excess from there and then get those dried off. And then I'll be right back. Okay, so they're pretty much dry now. So I just want to add in a little bit more colour. This time I've just brought out my abandoned coral. And I'm just going to add a little bit onto the map there. I've got a water brush. I'm just going to activate a little bit of that distress ink just to add in some kind of like pinkish tones. Just one or two. Just to give it a little bit of extra colour. Just a few pops. Because I used the embossing powder earlier, obviously that's resisting the water, so it's just to add a little bit of extra colour, a little pop. I think that should do actually. Okay. Oop. Just wipe that up. All gone. So once again, I just need to give it a quick blast, just to make sure it's all pretty much dry, and then we'll see whether or not my little experiment with the masking fluid has actually worked. Okay, so that's pretty much dry. So now, here's the thing. We're now going to see whether or not I can remove the masking fluid. Or whether see whether it's bonded. With that embossing powder. It shouldn't have done, but you never know. But somewhere I do have a rubber that's supposed to remove. Haha, there you go. So it is coming off. Just not as easy as I thought it would. Oh, that's kind of worked. That one's worked better than the other one, I think. Let me just see if I can use not too bad, not too bad at all. Let's just get rid of that masking fluid residue. There we go. So we've got the kind of nice, clean white face, but with all that mottled distressing in the background. Now, if I hadn't put the masking tape or masking fluid on that, then I probably would have got all this colour actually within that, but I think it looks better without it. There's been a little bit of cross-contamination with the heat from the embossing powder when I use the heat gun to dry everything, so that's probably my fault, but this one's worked pretty well, I think. But I don't think it's bad enough to discard it completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab Tattered Rose and Dried Marigold. These are two nice colours. Let's just grab that. So start off with that Dried Marigold. Add a little bit onto the mat. A little bit of water. A little bit of kitchen roll. And I'm just going to water it down. And then just give it a nice kind of paint over. Because the Dried Marigold will kind of give you a really nice, if you add enough water to it, kind of pale flesh colour. You can add darker tones like on the eyelids, shadowed areas if you want, just to give it a bit of depth. Move that one out of the way a minute. That's kind of pushed that mistake into the background. And then just clear that off. So that was the Dried Marigold, which does have a kind of fleshy tone to it. And I've got some Tattered Rose. I'm going to add some of that on. And with any luck, clean my water brush, just add a little bit, or maybe blush tone. And then a little bit on the lips. Maybe something a little bit darker. Why not? Let's use warm lipstick. Seeing as we've got a lipstick colour, let's just give it a little bit of a pop. Not too dark. There we go. I think I'm happy with that. Just clear that out of the way. And you can see those fleshy tones in there. With that little kind of rosy cheeks. Okay, so I will give that a little bit of a blast with the heat gun, just a little one, just to dry off those last bits of colour, and then I will be right back. Okay, so I've added some double-sided tape to the back of each of the images. I've not shown you it because it's just mega boring. And I'm just going to line it up so there's a little black border all the way around, and I'm hoping there we go. There's one. Put that to one side and grab the other. Let's see if we can line this one up. Just eyeball it. There we go. So, couple of thank you cards. I can then put a little note on the inside, and if I can find my thank you sentiment stamp, which I put somewhere safe and now can't find it, I might be able to stamp a quick thank you across the bottom, and then I'm done. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, without whose generosity and support these videos would not be possible. Thank you.